Hello. I am hankering to talk about self-love today. Actually, love. We'll just call it love. There is actually only one form of true love. And when you go further into the concept of the true form of something, it's kind of irrelevant to call something true and then untrue or ungenuine, disgenuine, I don't know, whichever one, not genuine. Because the not genuine version of something is not the something. So why do we even call it what we're talking about? For example, love. So if I say true love or genuine love, and not genuine love, well, that not genuine love isn't love. Like, call it what it is, like self-hate or something like that. Self-abandonment, whatever. That goes for anything. Like friendship. Say a true friend and then not a true friend. Well, that not a true friend is not your friend. Like, why do we put the label of friend on there? You can only have one version of something, and it's the true version of something. So, keeping that in mind, from here on out, I'm just going to call it love. And I'm going to point out how everything else that we call love is not love. And I'm not going to call it not genuine love. I'm going to call it what it is instead. So there is only one form of love, and that is self-love. With the physics of the universe, you literally cannot project love externally to something else if it doesn't come from self-love. So if you act from a space that isn't self-loving, you are self-abusing, you are self-abandoning, you are self-hating. And that is the energy that you give to whatever you are trying to love. You literally can't give what you don't have yourself. Like, that's like having an empty cup. This is my cup. This doesn't look like a cup, whatever. You have an empty cup and you give it to someone else. What is that you're giving them? You're giving them emptiness. That is the energy of lack. You are literally giving them lack energy. That's not good for anybody. They can't get love out of emptiness. They can't get love out of the lack of love. You're giving them an empty cup. You're like, here's some empty air. That's what you're doing whenever you're not doing something that's self-loving. So to understand self-love, it's not, it doesn't look like a certain thing. It's individual to every person and every circumstance for that person. So what's self-loving for me may not be self-loving for this person. What's self-loving for me today might not be self-loving for me tomorrow. There's no like one overhanging idea of what love looks like and what love is. It's unique to everybody. It's because everyone has their own vibration. They have billions, trillions of life experiences that make up who they are. Not to mention, like, add in their soul, which could be eons old. So add up who their soul is and what this person has lived in this life. That makes for a highly, highly unique individual. You your self-love is self-love. So it's unique to yourself. Other people's love isn't your love. Like, this person's self-love is the love that belongs to themselves. You can't transfer what's self-loving for them into you. So how do you figure out what's self-loving? The only way, you can't think it through. If you're thinking it through, you're working in your mind, you're working in your ego mind. Your ego mind makes up 90 to 100% of your mind. So if you're thinking it through with your head, you are just working in your ego mind. What does the ego mind do? It lives in fear. So now you're just thinking about everything in relation to fear, which is the opposite of love. It's literally the opposite vibration of love. The only way you can know what is self-loving for you and in each circumstance that you come across is to ask your heart. It can also feel like asking your inner child or asking your intuition. Either way, it's going to feel like it comes from the core of you in the center. And the answer is going to present itself to you. It's going to spring up. You won't have to go looking for it. You won't have to figure it out with your head. You ask yourself, what is self-loving to do in this situation? And you'll feel the answer come from right here, like your heart. This is the center of your being. The heart is your connection to your soul. And I'm thirsty. Pause. This is some good water. Yeah, I paused it for me to drink it, but I didn't pause it to talk about how good the water is. Anyways, where was I? Yeah, so that's how you know what is self-loving. And furthermore, you don't need to know why something is self-loving for you. Like, that can potentially be impossible to know in some circumstances, to understand why something is self-loving. Like, you would have to fucking analyze, like, psychoanalyze your entire life. And no one, like, I mean, that's like my hobby, but you can't figure out everything at once. So you don't need to know what the reason is for what's self-loving. That's looking for justification of your self-love, which is the same as seeking justification for your existence. You are love. You are literally made with love. Like, the contents that make up your being are love. You are love. So seeking justification to have love and to be loving is like seeking justification and permission to be who you are, for God to be God. You're like, God, I don't know, you better ask God for permission to be yourself. See? Like, you are God. So would you tell God to ask permission to be God? Who would it ask permission from? Like, who or what? Yeah. And furthermore, you don't need to justify your self-love to other people. You don't need to explain it to them. You don't need to tell them, this is self-loving for me because this, and this is why I'm doing it. No. It's self-loving. You don't even have to say, I'm doing this because it's self-loving if you don't want to. Just be like, this is what I want to do. Otherwise, it can still hold the energy of seeking permission and seeking acceptance and allowance to be how you are, to be how you fucking want to be. Well, that's fucking ridiculous. Yeah, so just as I said that you can't you can't give to others what you don't have in yourself, and you can't give others an empty cup and expect it to be filled with something for them. Hence, the only form of love is self-love. How do I break this down further? It's like these concepts are in my head and I take it for granted. I take them for granted, and I don't realize that not everyone understands what's in my head. So I am actively practicing now breaking down stuff to actually describe it and to explain it. So your self-love can potentially contain inspiration to outwardly do loving things for other people, or to other people. It might not. Like, I'll give you an example. Whenever I was in programming, I was still in MK Ultra programming. Therefore, I was being taken and tortured every day without my knowledge. And I had already committed to being self-loving. I started to seek that, like, several months before I broke out of programming, but really had to commit hard to it, especially once I was met with a lot more of my subconscious minds, my subconscious emotions. So I was actually, like, feeling the pain of what I was living, unlike whenever I was fully in programming, completely unaware of everything, completely disconnected from myself and all my alters and all the emotions that the alters hold, which are still in you. Like, your alters don't go anywhere. They're in your body. It is still your pain. They just kind of stored away, hidden from you. And so at one point I got more connected to my feelings, and I was feeling the emotions of being tortured without knowing that I was actually physically being taken to be tortured. But so simultaneously, I had already committed to a path of self-love. And it just my commitment increasingly grew. And what I noticed at this point in time, what was self-loving for me was to give no energy to anyone or anything external of myself. I didn't have anything to give to anyone else. I needed to be 100% self-focused 100% of the time, and I also needed other people to give to me, like, constantly. And at first, like, it was hard. I felt really guilty. Like, I thought you had to externally give someone else love to get it back, not understanding that you can't give what you don't have. And taking care of yourself actually sends out an energy to the universe and everyone you interact with, love. So what you put into yourself is what reflects out around you. It's physics. It's not like a metaphor. It's literally physics. So if you're putting in the energy of self-hate by abandoning yourself because you think, I need to pay attention to this person and help them through their problem, even though it doesn't feel good for me to do right now, I'm abandoning myself. I'm hating myself. That is the energy that gets sent out to everything, the whole universe, and including the people in my immediate circumstance who I'm actually trying to send love to. So, like, the whole point is moot. So I felt guilty, like really guilty a lot at first, but I still did it anyways. Like, that's one thing when it comes to self-love, if you are really not self-hating like I was, you make yourself do self-loving things even if you feel guilt or shame. And you can deal with the guilt or shame later, but it's not 100% necessary. Either way, in the moment, you make sure you meet your needs. This isn't 100% of the time rule. I've actually altered it a little bit eventually for myself. But for the most part, yeah, you just make sure you're taking care of yourself and you're meeting your needs no matter what. And this starts to break down the programs in your mind that have you thinking you have to be a certain way to receive love, or thinking you have to put your focus externally to be loving and whatnot. You're literally rewriting the programs in your mind. And this goes for everyone. It's not just people, like when I say programs in this instance, it's not just people who were programmed with MK Ultra. Like, everyone has mental programs, whether it's just good old-fashioned societal conditioning, or if it's perpetuated by the negative controllers of our planet, because they do actually put specific programs into people. But programs can be created and written in many ways, but we all have them. So that's what I'm talking about in this instance. And also, when you do that, when you make yourself do what is self-loving, no matter how you feel about it, you are recreating new, that's redundant, you are creating new neural pathways in your brain, because your brain has it set up that if I do this thing, if I do what's self-loving, if I don't put all my focus externally to other people, bad things are going to happen to me. And when you start to focus inwardly and manifest situations that show you, manifest situations that bring relief from those actions, just simply taking those actions are going to feel like relief. So you don't even need to further manifest proof that good things happen from self-love. The self-love in itself will feel great. And so now your brain is going to start to rewire itself. The neural pathways are going to start to make the link that focusing inwardly, focusing on myself, brings positive results. I now have positive associations with it. And then eventually, like for my own path, I let myself be 100% self-focused. I eventually broke through most of the guilt. I probably still had a twinge of guilt left about it. I was more like kind of shaming myself for it, like what's wrong with me that I can't, like why am I dysfunctional? I can't focus outwardly. I can't give love to others. That was more like me judging myself than feeling guilty eventually. Like I moved out of guilt to just not understanding why I was like that. I thought something was wrong with me. But I did all the self-love stuff anyways. And then eventually, one day, it felt 100% positive to do something totally externally with zero focus on myself. The idea just sprung to me like out of nowhere, something I wanted to do for someone else, and it just sprung out of love. Oh, mosquitoes. Lost my train of thought. Yeah, so it just popped in my head out of nowhere, and it just felt like pure love. And I was like, ooh, I want to do that. Not for any reasons. So when you give from a pure space, it's almost like emptiness. You have no attachments to it. You have no reasons for it. You just want to do it. That's when you're giving out of love. So yeah, and I followed through with that. And I let myself, I didn't continue to look for opportunities to do things external of myself. I just let them come to me as I was inspired. So I focused on self-love still, that's all self-focus. And whenever something manifested that felt good to do for someone else, I just took action on it. And so it was, not super frequent at first. And after a few months, I got to a point where I could actually work. So I could create a steady job where I am focused on other people. And it doesn't mean you have to ignore yourself when you're focusing on other people. If you have filled your self-love cup up enough, you do have the capability to be 100% focused on someone else and to have no need to focus on yourself for a small amount of time. There's the potential for that. It doesn't mean that it will happen all the time, but that is what an in alignment healer does. A healer who is self-loving. You don't really want a not self-loving healer, because what are they giving you? Lack. They're not giving you any healing. They're giving you a bunch of lack. And so yes, it is possible for the healer to not need to focus on themselves at all for a small amount of time while they're completely focused on you and completely present with you. But it's not a necessity. It's whatever is self-loving. So sometimes the healer will need to be present with there will be emotions that they need to be present with in themselves. But the practice of being present with yourself means that you are skilled for presence in general. So I can be present with myself and you at the same time. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it that I wanted to talk about, actually. Let me think. I thought about it. Yeah, that's it. But so that's why the only form of love is self-love. You don't have self-love, you don't have love. It's hate. You have self-love or you have hate. And I mean, I guess I do want to hit on the points that self-love, I mean, I talked about a little, but more specifically, self-love can be doing things for other people. So self-love doesn't mean I never feel like doing anything for anyone else. It means if my cup is full enough of my own self-love, if you have a cup and it's overflowing, now, not only is it full of self-love, now it's overflowing. Well, you are the cup. And the overflow goes outside of you, goes to other people. That's how giving love directly to other people works. But keep in mind, whatever you do that's self-loving is loving for other people. That is the energy you're sending out to everyone else. Love. So you don't need to think that you have to do something directly for someone for it to be loving to them. Whatever is your self-love is it's the biggest form of love you can give to them. It's the most direct form of love you can give to them. And that pretty much sums it up. Yeah, those are my thoughts on love, and that's what I'm dedicated to living my life by, and what I desire to help others understand and to help others fulfill. Ooh, one more thing, actually. So if we try to fulfill self-love in order to send love to other people, you've missed the whole point. The point of self-love is it's what you deserve. The point of self-love is for you to have love, because every individual deserves their own love. So if your motivation to be self-loving is to heal the world, to change the world, make it a better place, you are actually abandoning yourself again, and it's not self-love. The one and only purpose and reason for you to be self-loving is not to make this world a better place. It's not to change people's lives. It's not to give love to the universe or to the planet. It's to give love to yourself, because you deserve it. That's it. You deserve love. That's the only reason. It's the only reason. Did you hear me? Okay, good. Bye.